Hello, everybody, and welcome to a late night episode of Late Night Football or early morning, depending on where you're watching this and what time you're watching this. You know what? I was debating whether I wanted to do this show or not, and then I was like, you know what? I will try it. I will try to do this. I'll try to talk up through some of the things that I'm feeling, some of the things that I'm thinking, because in some ways, this is my therapy session. This is my therapy session, so I'm going to use it for that. Now, of course, as you'll see in the thumbnail, this isn't a match report. I'm not going to talk about the game, and I'm really going to talk about it from United's perspective because that's really what I'm feeling. So apologies to any Manchester City fans. Might have been expecting a match report. We'll try to get Adarsh or Gaurav on a future show to talk about the game itself. Maybe we'll try to do that. But I mean, this show really is going to be about United, and I'm going to talk about the game, but also some of the things that the ramifications really what this means. And I really want to start off by saying, it's I don't know what I feel, to be honest. I you kind of feel disappointed, that they lost this game, but at the same time, it's not unexpected. I think that's the worst part, isn't it? It's when you expect something that happens, and it happens that way. That's kind of what it is. You expect failure and then you fail. I mean, I think disappoints you a bit. I know some people say, well, if you expect to fail, then you don't feel disappointed, but actually you do. You do feel that same disappointment. I do feel disappointment. But it's the same things over and over again. And the title of the show is Ralf the man for United? Is Ralf the right man for United? And I will talk about that, in a little bit. But I want to talk about the game itself, and that will kind of lead you to my conclusion of what I think. And of course, that's my opinion. So feel free to share in the comments. What do you think? What do you think about Ralf Rangnick? Do you think he's the right man for United? Do you think, he could do things in United, whether that's as a manager, whether that's as, a consultant in the future? Do you think he's the guy to take United forward? Let me know in the comment section. Always love hearing your opinion. But I mean, you know what? The first 30 minutes, I put this out as what I said. For me, the first, this game showed what a manager can do, what a good manager can do, and what a good manager can't do. And what a good manager can do is he can have tactics, he can set the team up properly, he can create, ways in which, to maximize a team's strengths, to hide their, to show, to try to maximize their strength and minimize their weaknesses. And I think for the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, I think United did that. There was no way that United should have been 2-1 down in the first 30 minutes. There's no way that they should have been down 2-1. Both goals were down to individual errors, which I will talk about. But they just bossed that game. I think City were taken aback. I think City probably thought that United were going to sit back and we're going to soak up the pressure. And they were completely bamboozled by United's aggressive approach. We as fans, probably some of us were confused that United was so aggressive, but they were really aggressive, which I loved, actually. I absolutely loved watching that aggressive version of United, and it was that's fascinating to watch as well. And you kind of worried that it was going to go, era at some point. It probably did, but still, it was great to watch. It was great to watch, as a fan, just to see for the first 30 minutes they were going at it. They were going after City. They were creating problems. Maybe it's kind of like it was like a light heavyweight boxer trying to punch a heavyweight boxer, and you kind of know, okay, fine, he's getting a few punches in, but at some point it's the heavyweight boxer will hit back, but it's much better than watching some guy trying to be like, oh, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. I love that. I love that. And great goal by Sancho. The sad part is that now he's looking like a very good left finger, and that's not a sad part. The sad part is that we've now got another left finger, because I think Elanga as well is more of a left-sided player. You've got Sancho is a left-sided player. You've got Rashford who also likes to play left. So again, we're kind of stuck with all these left-sided players. We can't seem to catch a break on that right-hand side. The two goals that they conceded, I mean, it was really mind-boggling defensively. First off, I don't know what Guardiola has done to get dropped. I know he's not he's not the greatest right back in the world, but he's much better than Van Bissaka. I have no idea what Van Bissaka did to get back in the side. I have no idea what Dalot did to get dropped, but I mean, that's a mistake on Rangnick. Again, say that's a mistake on Rangnick. Whether he's been pressured to do it, whether he's done it because he's seen something, I don't know. But I think that was on Rangnick not to start Dalot. And I think Van Bissaka, for me, had a terrible game. He had a real terrible game. People point to his defensive, skills. I just don't see it. I think, as I said at the start of the season, he's someone who got complacent of his spot. And now I think he's just, Dalot has played so well. And I think he's just looked, he just doesn't look like he belongs anymore in that team, if that makes sense. He just doesn't look like it. But it was completely him, Scott McTominay, and I think Lindelof, all of them got done on that first goal by Bernardo Silva. I mean, 3 players on one guy. They just, they all kind of lost it. And then it comes to De Bruyne's got to tap in. I mean, Maguire again, what, it just lets the ball go through his legs. I mean, it's again, and I'll talk about Maguire as well, but it was just sad to watch the first goal. It was sad to watch because it came out of nowhere. 5 minutes in, you're down. You shouldn't be. It's an error. It's a goal from an error. Really. Again, that the second goal, same thing. Lindelof gets done from Foden. Great piece of skill, but really Foden should be doing much, much, much better. Foden should be allowed to do that. And then again, same thing. Maguire tries to dummy it. I don't know what Maguire is thinking. I see no idea what goes through his head sometimes. And then that's it. It's a goal, right? And then again, another tapping for De Bruyne. He's going to score. He's going to take them. And then the third goal. And this is where it says the manager can maximize your strengths, and he did. He did make United look like a half decent team for those 30 minutes, but he couldn't stop the errors. The manager can't play. He can't play in place of that. He can't tell defenders not to make errors. He can't tell Maguire to stop being an idiot. He can't tell Van Bissaka to become a better offensive player. He can't do all those. He can't tell McTominay and McFred to become world-class CDMs. He can't. He can't do that. That's what the players have to do themselves, and they don't have it. They just don't have that ability to do it. And that was it. I think at 30 minutes, City kind of got control. I think the fact that for 60 minutes, it was 2-1 to City against a team that was playing 4-4-2, by the way. That I thought that was a little bit for me. That was like that I think showed to me that Rangnick has got something. He's got something, because any team playing 4-4-2 against City shouldn't be 2-1 down. They should, and especially this United team, they should probably be 5 or 6-0 down, playing 4-4-2. That was any other team that we would say that's suicidal. And yet, the United were playing 4-4-2 and doing reasonably well. They were riding their luck a little bit, but they were doing reasonably okay, offensively, and holding on just about barely. And then, of course, after 60 minutes, it all went, to change this formation. Maybe that was a problem. Maybe it was not a problem. I don't know. But yeah, it just completely disintegrated. Third goal went in. And the only thing I will say about the third goal going in after that. Now, as a fan, and again, this is something where I'll credit Rangnick. At 2-1, I still thought United could come back in it. Whereas under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would have been like 2-1. That's it. So City are going to cruise this. And yet I thought maybe they'll get a goal. Maybe they might get a chance. Not a goal, but they might get a chance that they might make something out of. Because that's Rangnick. But once the third goal went in, my belief went. But that's okay because I'm a fan, and then with the players, but to watch the players believe went. Like they literally could not even think that they were going to get back into the game. And if you could tell in the body language, they'd given up. They were like, yeah, that's it, we're done. We've lost this game. Right? And when you have that, when the players have that sort of lack of self-belief, what do you expect the fans to do? How do you expect the fans to believe? If the players don't believe in themselves, how are the fans supposed to believe in them? How is the manager supposed to believe in them? Like how do you do that? And it's like, I mean, it was just sad to watch. That was sad to watch. Like for a team to just give up. If there's 20 minutes to go. Try. I mean, you're probably going to lose anyway, but try. It shows that you care. It shows that you want to try. Again, managers can't do that. Manager can't make a player try harder. They can't. No matter how much you want to say that, they can't. All they can do is they can tell the player, they can show them the pathway. They can't convince them. You can't do that. And I mean, that's just what it is. The players. So, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this, but it was sad to watch. The third goal, again, same thing, deflected goal. Maguire once again deciding that if it's again. And I'll again talk about Maguire in a bit, but just if in case I forget, I hope I remember. But I won't talk about again. Third goal, a little bit lucky because again the corner was not intended for but no matter what anyone says, that corner was a bad corner. It wasn't intended for Mahrez. It was actually one that went over the head of the defender. I don't know who of the attacker. I don't know who it was, but I think it was meant as a head. It went over. Comes to Mahrez, he hits it. Should be a comfortable save for De Gea, to be honest. He would have saved it, but then Maguire does what Maguire always does. Playing for the other team. And he lets it go in. That helps it go in. Not lets it go in, but he helps it go in. And that was it. And then the fourth goal, of course, Telles at fault again. Defense gets played through Maguire. I mean, a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily blame Maguire fully for it, and I wouldn't blame Maguire for the first goal either. I know people say I'm going in on Maguire. I'm not going. I don't think he was fault for the first goal either, but he's got to do better. And that's what the point is. He's got to do better. I mean, it's at the end of the day, he's been nutmegged. Like he's allowed the ball to go through his legs. So try to do something that's. You've got to have that awareness, like at least try to stop it from going in. And that's just what it is. Same thing with the deflection. It was not his fault really, because I mean, he doesn't know. But again, it's just, he puts himself in these situations where he's often, at fault for these kind of goals. He puts himself in these situations, and that is a problem. And it makes sense when I'll talk about it just in a second there. But then that was the fourth goal. Again, I thought, played through easily. Telles, he wasn't sure if he was the last one. He's trying to pull, come off onside. He couldn't. His leg was behind. It's a bit unlucky, really. To be honest, I felt a bit sad for him. Again, I felt sad for the fact that he played him onside. I don't feel sad for the bad defending that came before that. So I don't want to have this victim mentality of, he was unlucky. He was unlucky for that one phase of play, but should never have got to that point. Should have been dealt with much before, but that's United. They don't do it. They didn't care. At 3-1, they just didn't care. They've just given up. 3-1, 4-1, it didn't make a difference. To be honest, City could have scored another 3 goals and United would not have cared. They literally would not have cared, because that's the way it is. And so then that brings me to, the real thought. So, just talking about team selection as well. Harry Maguire. So the thing about Harry Maguire is, a lot of people will look at it and go, well, he wasn't really at fault, or he's tried his best or whatever. I think, first off, I don't think he should be the captain. I think everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Sorry about that. Everybody knows that he shouldn't be captain. At this point, he really shouldn't be captain. And I think he knows it. In his mind, he knows that he shouldn't be captain. To be honest, I also feel that he knows in his mind that he's been dropped. I think he knows. I think he plays like a person who knows he's been dropped. And the problem with Maguire is because he lacks that self-belief in himself, because it shows every time he plays, he has zero self-belief in his game. He knows he's not getting his place. He's already given up on his place as well. I think he's probably thought, I'm not getting my place back in this team, right? That kind of attitude doesn't help anybody around. He's still got that captain's arm, man, right? And so you're given the captain. The captain has got to be the one who's got to instill belief in the players around him, right? Roy Keane wasn't the best player in his team. Let alone Roy Keane. Fernandinho is not the best player in City's team. He's not, but he does his. But the point is, the captain doesn't always have to be the best player, but he needs to instill that belief in others by believing in himself, that believing that, yes, I am the best player, or I'm the best person for the job that I do, right? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's got a thing there. So he's got to believe in himself. And how do you, and if you don't believe in yourself, you can't, if I don't believe in myself and if I can't do my job properly, right? There's 2 parts to it. First, if I can't do my job properly, nobody's going to take me seriously. Nobody's going to listen to me. So I've got to do my job properly, but then I've also got to believe that I'm the best person who's doing the job. Because if I don't believe that, I could tell somebody else that, do this or do that, or you're not doing your job properly. You got to do your job properly. He can't do that because everybody's going to be like, well, that idiot doesn't do his own job. Or who's he to tell me, right? And I think he does. I don't think he wants to be the captain. I think because I think he thought being captain of United was some big deal, but I think he's now realized what pressure really is. I don't think he was ever ready for that spot. I don't think he ever understood the gravity of that. And I think it just doesn't work with him. And he's also someone who doesn't believe that who believes he's lost his spot and doesn't have the self-belief to win it back. It's that simple. With Maguire, it's that simple. He wouldn't have started today if Varane was fit. I think that's just simple. And I hope he doesn't. I hope once Varane is fit and if Varane can stay fit, he shouldn't be starting. That's as simple as that. I'd rather play, Sad and Mengi's gone, Tuanzebe's gone, but I'd rather have seen them. And I think he's kind of, that's kind of sacrificed them. Not saying that they would have been world-class players or something, but I think Tuanzebe's career has stalled in large part because they indulge Maguire so much. But anyway, that's a different matter at all. Van Bissaka, another player, I think, completely stalled as well in the way. And again, just going back to Maguire as well before I finish this, a lot of people will point out, well, he wasn't at fault. But the thing is that, again, that's Maguire. I've always said Maguire's first instinct is always to go back. It's never to go forward. It's always to go back. And therefore, there are a few times when he tries to intercept, when he tries to win the ball, almost always fails. And even today, in this game, he did that. The one yellow card that he played, I thought actually that was the best piece of play that he played because it was not the best, but the smartest piece of play that he did because he knew De Bruyne had beaten him for pace. So if he hadn't done it, he would have probably, De Bruyne would have scored a goal. So I thought that was a cynical, but smart piece of play that he did. But every time, so often you see him trying to intercept, he almost always misses. And so he's always, because he doesn't have that instinct. His instinct is not to go forward. His instinct is always to go back. His first instinct is to go back. So when he goes forward, it's very unnatural. It's very, forced rather than something where he knows what he has to do. It's always going back. And that's what it is. That's why he always finds himself in those situations where he's the last man defending, where he's, kind of like trying to figure out what he wants to do. He doesn't have a clue. He really doesn't have a clue. It's the same when he tries to attack. He had a chance where, literally I was saying this as well. He didn't hit the goal when he scored. It was Shaw put the ball on his head and it hit the right part of his head to go inside. Even today, he had the chance with the corner where it literally hit him. He didn't even try to hit it. He was just basically standing there. And I think that's all that he does. He just waits and hopes that something will happen. And then it's always that's all he does. Anyway, so that was Maguire. So that's where Maguire's fault is the fact that he doesn't have those basic defensive instincts. He's so slow. not just in terms of pace, but also in terms of his mental awareness, in terms of how his mind works. He's just slow. It's too slow. And that's more important. That's worse. That's worse than being slow in pace in modern football, at least. Wan-Bissaka, yeah, I think he needs to be dropped as well. Another player who I think, flattered to receive. I mean, just think about it, $130 million in bonds that it's going to go away, and I don't know where that's going to come from. Same with Scott McTominay. I thought Scott McTominay, there was a player. I still believe there is a player in there who can be a good squad player, not a starter, a good squad player, box to box midfielder. He could be a good squad, a box to box midfielder as a sub. He could be that. He's never going to be a starter. It's definitely not going to be a CDM, but he could be a box to box player from the bench if they ever needed that. But again, hasn't worked out. This hasn't worked out. Same with Fred, hasn't worked out for a long time. I thought Paul Pogba was one of the better players, but again, he gave the ball away so many times. Again, same thing, trying so often. I mean, again, trying to pass it or trying to or trying to get a foul. Like literally, those are the two things he was trying to do. Played a good ball, actually, one good ball which led to the goal, but that's just Paul Pogba for you. Bruno was bad as well. Again, it just doesn't look like another player who's really been bad. So about that. That's what it was. I mean, going forward, so is Ralf the man? For me, yes, he is. I think he's working. I mean, the fact is that he's working with all these players who are just completely unsuited to his style. I mean, what is he supposed to do? You can't make a mid-table player could be made into a top-class player with good coaching. A top-class player can be made into a world-class player with good coaching. You can't make a lower table player into a world-class player, no matter how much you coach them. You can't. You just can't. You can't do that. And that's no coach can do that. And so that's what it is. It's also about identifying the right players. And the big part of coaching is to identify the right players that need to be invested in. I think that's something that oftentimes people forget. People think that coaching is about getting the best out of players. It's also about figuring out which are the players that I should invest in to make them that player. And I don't think that's happened for a long time. I think for a long time the wrong players have been invested in. The likes of Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, Fred, Pogba as well. I would add to that list as well. I know he divides opinion, but for me, he's a waste of time. He's been a waste of time for 6 years. And there's others. Rashford, to a certain extent, Lingard, yes, had a bit of time invested in him as well. Rashford as well. And I think that's my final point as well about Marcus Rashford. What the future holds for him, we don't know. So I would say Rangnick is the right man. Should he get the permanent job? No, he shouldn't. I don't think he should. And not because of anything else, not because of any personal vendetta, but I don't think. I think his best role right now is to really go upstairs and to try to create a structure in place for the club, because that is what they need. They don't need another good coach who can do something and then he's subservient to the board, right? Don't need that. What we need is somebody who can go to the board, hopefully knock some sense into them and say, this is how we should be operating. This is how things need to be done. And at the moment, that is the best thing that he could do for this club. So I definitely think they should keep him around after this interim period, have him be the consultant, but he needs to have power. If he doesn't have power behind the scenes, it's useless. You might as well just pay him for doing nothing. So if he gets the power, the right sort of power, to execute changes, to make those kind of decisions, I think he'll be a fantastic addition. I think he's still a fantastic addition. He still will be a fantastic addition, but it all depends on what he gets. As regards to the next manager, I don't want to speculate on that. So we'll see what happens. In terms of players, I mean, to be honest, there's so many players that I would say Sancho and Elanga aside, and Elanga only because he's young. I would say, and all of the other players, you could just sell them or you could tell them to go, and I wouldn't be fussed. I would be like, yeah, that's okay. Like I can live without even Ronaldo. You're commanding, yeah. I mean, Ronaldo, because he's at the end of his career. I like him, but he's at the end of his career, and if he wants to go somewhere else and play, Champions League football and try to win things, why not? Just go. You're only going to be here for one other year at most anyway, so it doesn't make a difference, right? You're not going to win any trophies next year, so you might as well go if you want to go, right? I'm not going to be fussed about it. So there's nobody that I would rather say, and that's the indictment, right? I mean, when you think about it, oh my God, this player's going to go. What are we going to do? There's no player like that, but I would say, oh, this player's going to go. What are we going to do? No, they could all go, and I wouldn't care. I literally wouldn't care as a fan. I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comments what do you think, but I wouldn't care. I really wouldn't care about any of them. Sancho, yes, because I think he's shown some flashes. I don't think he's going to go anyway because he's just started out. Sancho, yes, I think he's got something. I think we can kind of nurture that. Can kind of build the team around him, perhaps maybe Elanga as well, because I think I've seen something in him as well that could be nurtured. And he's young, so I would like to see him try to fulfill his potential. I'm not saying that he's going to become a great player or something like that, but I think there's potential there that's not been corrupted yet. But Maguire, yeah, please go. If you need to go Van Bissaka, you can go. Shaw, you can go. Teles, you can go. Lindelof, you can go. Varane, you can go, because I think he's injury prone at this moment. He doesn't play a lot of games. So, but I would want to keep him. Hopefully, and if he will stay. I don't think he will go anyway. He will stay, but I wouldn't be fussed about him going. That's the thing. Same with David De Gea. I wouldn't be fussed if he wanted to leave, because maybe a little bit, maybe not. But again, I feel like there's some weaknesses to his game which are slowly being exploited in different ways. We're not seeing it because his saves are making a big difference, and he's the best shot stopper in the world. No doubt about it. But there are other parts of his game which need work. And I don't know whether he has the ability to work on those things, or whether he has the capacity or the desire to work on those things. I don't know. So we'll have to keep that one going. And I know, again, another player who divides opinion, but that's just my opinion with him. Honestly, yeah, it doesn't matter, But my worry is, if they sell De Gea, they let De Gea go, who do they bring in? The problem is not letting players go, who do they bring in? And we know United are incompetent to bring the players in. So that's just what it is. I think Rashford, for me, I think he needs a loan. I think next season, I would genuinely say, if there was a club that offered a loan deal for Rashford, I would say seriously consider it. Because I never tell that to Rashford, I say seriously consider it, because the reality is, I don't know if Rashford wants to be a footballer, or if he wants to be, or if he wants to be a footballer for Man United. I don't know the answer to that, and I genuinely feel that I don't know whether he wants to play football for Man United, and that is a question that Rashford needs to answer for himself. He doesn't look interested. Again, another player who was too coddled before and has now lost his place and doesn't have the self-belief to fight for his place. And then it always comes to that, some players accept that you have to fight for your place, other players don't. And I think Rashford is another one, just like Maguire, who doesn't have the self-belief in themselves that they can win their place back in the side. And therefore, every time they play with this, well, what's the point of it all? And that transmits to, in Maguire's case, it transmits to the other players, because he's supposed to be a leader. Same with Rashford, he's someone who a lot of players look up to, and when they see him doing what he does, it again transmits to the other players around him that, what's the point of it all? So Rashford, there was a loan deal on offer. The problem is United will never sell him, because again, it's good PR, not because he's a good footballer, but because he's good PR. So that's more important at this point for the club anyway. So with good PR, they're not going to sell him because of good PR. So there's that, right, to consider. But I think selling him might be a little bit too radical. If somebody came in with £100 million offer, never happened. But if somebody came in with £100 million offer, I would say, yeah, go ahead, take him, go away, right away, right? Go, because you can probably get a couple of good wingers for that price, better than Rashford, or at least the potential to be better than Rashford with good coaching. So yeah, I would say Rashford, would be sold, but nobody's going to come in with a £100 million offer. But if somebody offered a loan deal, I would say, yeah, go away for a year. Go to another club, maybe even go to another country if you want, and just figure out what you want to do. Is football something that you still want to do? Is playing football for Man United still something that you want to do? Because players, they change, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing what with saying that. It's constructive criticism. A lot of people are afraid to criticize, and I always see this again. This will be my final point on this, and I will come to that. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with deciding if this is something that you want. Because sometimes we feel that we want something, and it happens to all of us. We're all human. We feel we want something, and then when we do it, we realize maybe this is not something that we want. And so maybe playing football for Man United is something that Rashford doesn't want anymore. Maybe it doesn't appeal to him anymore. Maybe being a bench player for United, being a player who has to fight for his place and not an automatic starter for United, is not something that Rashford wants. Fair enough. Something for him to figure out, but that's they'll have to figure that out. And I think the final point, and I know this, and the reason why this goes to stack is Ralph's still the man. The reason for that is because of the fact that there's been so much talk about his tactics, about how he played today and what he's done, and the fact whether he's the right man for United. Why did they go him? First off, go for him instead of Conte. First off, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when Conte was available, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was going to that slump, would I have wanted Conte? Yes, definitely. I think Antonio Conte would have been a good choice. I definitely would have been a good choice. When I heard about Ralf Rangnick, was I sad? Was I happy that they were considering him? Was I happy that we had missed out on Conte for him? Absolutely. I feel Rangnick as a long-term choice based on what we know. We know he's going to be here for 6 months and then a 2-year consultancy role based on what he's done before. All of his past experiences. For me, he's a better choice than Antonio Conte. This is personally my opinion. You can say whatever you want, and I know people will have different opinions. Serial winner, all of that doesn't matter. The fact is, for a club like United, at this moment in time, they need Ralf Rangnick more than they need Antonio Conte, because Conte works with structures. Conte, you look at him in Tottenham. Imagine working with Levi. He's got 2 players in the winter transfer. And I said he's got 2 players. right? And he's complaining. Imagine at United, he would have got zero. He would have got nobody. They would have given him no one. That's what they wanted. They didn't want to spend any money in the summer, in the winter, and they would not have. What do you think was going to happen to him, right? So we can blame as fans all we want. Experts like Micah Richards, and I'm going to call him out. Micah Richards can say all he wants. Oh, they're not winning things. Why are they going for this guy, that guy? The reality is United don't operate that way. They were never going to bring him in because that's not how they operate. Now that's not on us as fans. That's on the board. We call it out and then we get told it's negative and all that stuff. But the reality is that's what it is. At the end of the day, he would not have fit in. He would have been on our third manager. I'll be honest here and I'll say by now Conte would have resigned if he was United. He would have gone and we'd have had to find another manager again. So he wasn't going to be around. With Rangnick, he's working. He's not given a single player in the January transfer window. All he might have wanted just one midfielder. 3 million euros or 3 million pounds for Zakaria. I mean, that's an easy thing to do, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it because that's how they operate. So what do you expect? He's not been given a single player that he wants. I don't know if I said this on the channel, but I know I said this somewhere. I did not expect them to win a lot of games. I expected them to be there to be a lot of up and down results because this is a team that has no idea how to play Rangnick style, no idea how modern football works, and so they're not going to be able to execute everything that he wants. He's going to get them playing a certain way, and he's going to do well with that. But at the end of the day, there's a certain limitation that it comes to. The players can do a little bit, but if they don't have the ability, and most of these players don't have the ability, they can't do it, and they weren't able to do it. So I'm not surprised by the results themselves. I'm surprised that the performances have been actually better than I thought they would be, to be honest. I'm not surprised with the results, and that's the thing. That's not that surprising. So for anybody who blames Rangnick and says, "Oh, he's not the right choice, he's not a good manager," I'll just say that I don't want to say that you don't know anything about football because I think that's a bit harsh. Everybody has their own opinions. But I will say that you might not have been paying attention to the matches, or you remember the Oli era with ghost in the glasses, because that is what it is. I think a lot of people's, there's a lot of agendas out there, and I don't want to really get into all of that. But yeah, I still feel as though, so anyway, coming back to the point, I thought I was happier that we went for Ryan than I would have been for Conte, for sure. Is he still the right man for the job? Yes, he is, because he's doing something. Stats will not tell us how good he has been. And that's the sad part, is that stats will not tell us how good he has been, because he's working with players that absolutely do not know how to play his style, and yet he's still trying to grind out results. He's getting good performances out of the team. I actually look forward to games in a way. Even though, I know United are not going to play well, I still look forward to seeing something. As I said it, for Atlanta, United will lose. They could play defensive like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and they lost 2-0 to City, right? It's not like they played much better then, and they could play, they played today as they did, and they lost 4-1. I know that I would rather watch today's match. I wouldn't watch either of the matches, to be honest, but I'd rather watch today's match than I would watch the one that they played at Old Trafford, because at least for 30 minutes, they look like a team, right? And so that's what Rangnick has done. And, that's just all he can do, because it's just, we don't know how good he could have been, because he's never been given anything to work with. So anyway, that's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment sections. I think this one went a bit long for a single person video, but anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section about United, about what needs to change. I mean, we could do a whole 2-hour session on just what needs to change, and we could keep repeating it and repeating and repeating. We know nothing happens. But I just need to get a little bit off my chest, so I've done this. Let me know what you think in the comment sections. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy watching these videos and other videos that we produce. And stay notified as well for new content that comes out. Thank you so much for your support. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.